Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am so blessed and so honored to be bringing this very special edition of Love and Relo to you today. We've got some very familiar friends and faces on the program today, as well as some new faces. We are kind of breaking some kind of news here around associations here around the International Association of Movers, which many of you are hearing about on this program. Some even for the first time or may not be familiar with the association, but you're learning about the association through Love and Relo. So I'm very excited to welcome the president of the International Association of Movers here. Chuck White will be with us today, as well as the Director of Government Affairs, Dan Bradley. We've also got the president of Cornerstone Moving and Storage out of the DC area, Mr. Chuck Bailey, and we've got the president of DN Van Lines out of the Boston area, Mr. Oded Carmi. They're all with us today to talk about the association and some of the developments that are going on and some of the things that we can look forward to at the conference. So very excited about all that. We've got a ton of people already checking in on Facebook right now. So go ahead and leave something in those comments, give some people a shout out, maybe talk a little smack, do whatever you got to do. Okay, just get it out. Just get it out in the comments. We're going to go ahead and answer all your questions, read all those comments at our own peril. Before we get started, though, let's go ahead and tell you about the conference right now, the International Association of Movers 58th Annual Meeting and Expo coming up October 21st through the 23rd. They've done a tremendous job, if I may say so. They've done a tremendous job with the learning aspect. They've always done a tremendous job with the networking, but this year specifically with the learning. We're working on a few panels. It's got a little Love and Relo vibe to it with global mobility thought leaders from Latin America, from Asia, from the United States, from Europe. We've got government panels. I mean, really it's about voice of the customer being prioritized. So I highly recommend, if you're in relocation in any facet of relocation, you check out the International Association of Movers Conference coming up. And if you're a corporate person, a corporate attendee, you can actually register for free, which is a cool little tidbit you may have not known. So go ahead and check that out. Without further ado, let's bring out our guest today. So we've got Chuck White here from International Association. Hey, Chuck, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you, Mr. Ben?
Dude, any day that I got Chuck White on Love and Relo is a good day. Okay.
All right.
Very excited to have you here. And then
I'm a repeat offender.
You're probably my most tenured guest here, I think.
I like it.
So at this point, there's no excuse for a bad show at this point.
I wear the badge of courage right here.
There you go. Or the Scarlet Letter, whatever. We've also got Dan Bradley, also from the International Association of Movers. How's it going, Dan?
Oh, it's going great, Ben. Appreciate it. First time on your show, and I'm looking forward to it.
First time caller, long time listener.
That's right.
All right, man. Awesome. Very good. Cool. And we've got Oded Carmi, another repeat offender. Frequent guest here. How's it going, Oded?
There he is.
I'm good.
He's dabbing. I like it.
Dabbing. That's great. Awesome. Let's see here. We got Chuck Bailey coming in. Hey, Chuck, how's it going? Oh, Chuck is muted.
You're muted.
Improvement. Chuck,
No,
you there, buddy?
You were muting me.
Hey, man. Hey, it was Janet. It was Janet. I don't know what you're talking about. It was Janet.
See, Dan and I want to talk with Chuck and Oded on this Love and Relo broadcast, and you muted me.
Oh my gosh. No, this
I
is
slipped in $5.
This is fantastic. We got a ton of people on LinkedIn right now. We got a ton of people on Facebook. If you're watching this now, go ahead and hit that like button. Give some love to the guests here. Hit that heart button, maybe the applause button, celebration button. We got people checking in right here. Let's go ahead and check in with people and see what everybody's talking about out there before we hop into our program. We've got Henri from Bordeaux. I'm sorry, Henri, I still owe you my address for that case of wine. What's up? Tracy. Wait. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's real over here.
I'm going to get some of that.
Yeah, just make sure it's wrapped properly, because last time Oded was on here with John, he sent me some whiskey and it broke in the mail. So, and he's a mover. He should know better. Tracy Denora coming on here. Hey, everyone from New Jersey. What's up, Tracy? Fernando from Brazil. What's going on, Fernando? Good to see you. Katie Linehan from Connecticut. No smack, but hi from Connecticut.
All right.
Elena, what's up? Happy Monday, everyone. She's from DC area, I think Maryland, right?
Love it.
Carl Weaver, great to be here. So Carl's just saying that. You know he is. Just saying.
I paid him to say that. What are you talking about?
That's it. Tim Quirk, hey all, Love and Real, sponsored by IAM. As a governing member, you're welcome.
You don't pay that much.
Good to see you, man. Steve Whitecamp from California, looking forward to the upcoming IEM conference.
Yeah.
Awesome. Georgia Engel, register now. Don't miss out on this new format and new learning sessions.
I love this. I've got cheerleaders.
You really do. This is really rare. You must have done some promotion. Lakeland, are we going to call them Chuck 1 and Chuck 2?
How about CW and CB?
There we go.
CW and CB. Oh, we can get more
like
creative than that. Let's see.
That's like
here.
those T-shirts at the carnival, you know. one and two. That's
Thing 1 and thing 2. Henri,
Yeah.
hey Chuck, good to see you again. Which one? You got to specify, okay? Julia O'Connor, hello. Don't go easy on Chuck, White, or Dan Bradley.
That's not right.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how people feel right now.
I know that's not right at all.
John Habanek from Arizona checking in. Caleb McCartney. Get back to work, Caleb. I'm going to tell your boss, get back to work.
Hold on a second. He's got to go back to work now.
Got an all-star team today. Good to see you, Caleb. Brian Liparavas, how did the Cowboys do last night, guys?
Oh, no, he didn't.
Oh, man. Can we block this? Can we remove that comment?
Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Gosh. That's just dirty, man. That's dirty.
So
What did Washington win one game?
We got Alaska.
No. Well, he's a San Francisco fan, so ask him how Arizona did last night.
There you go.
There we
Tim
go.
Kirk, how about them Cow? You know what, people?
Haters.
Not cool.
Haters.
Not cool at all. People are talking. This is great. This is fun. Guy Lambert, howdy.
You passed by Megan Harless. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Sorry.
Hey,
There you go.
Good to see you, Megan.
Hello, Megan.
Megan's been on the show before here. Sandra Clary, quite the lineup today. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, even Janet gets a shout out.
Janet always gets a shout out. Because Sandra knows who does the work around here. Janet always gets the shout out. I appreciate you, Janet. Derek Potter, Texas in the house.
There we go.
All right.
Samantha Ha in the house.
Hello,
Look at
Miss Samantha.
Love Samantha.
It's like going to a conference right here. Claim charge back that whiskey. Oded Carmi.
No, that was John Miner who shipped it. I was just on the session with John.
It was a bottle of Booker's, right? And he sends it in like this plastic baggie, like one of those bags you would send a plush toy in. And it's a bottle of Booker's bourbon with like a metal tumbler like this. Yeah. Anyway,
You can fill out the survey. man.
You called me that day and said I'm not going to tell John about it. Now he knows. He's listening.
yeah, I got a stinky bag of glass in the mail. That's what I got. It was great.
Hey, shout out for John Bonner though, because he saw me standing around one time, asked me if I ever sat down. And I said I try to work standing up. He sent me a stand-up desk. I didn't even ask for it; just showed up in my mail. So
John, I've been walking to work for so long, John.
try anything.
I'm thinking something German. I don't know. Whatever. Hi from Venezuela. We got the Venezuelans. What's up, Zenaida?
I told John that I didn't have a scat code. He sent me like 10 in the mail.
Oh, what are they worth nowadays? Anyway,
He's a giver. That guy's a giver. I love it.
Mexico's checking in. Look at this.
All over the world. AK's in the house.
Go Steelers. Look at Megan over here. Go Niners. Okay,
That's
cool.
tonight. That's tonight.
This is great. We got Sweden in the house. We got a ton of people on LinkedIn. They've all been really patient here. Annette says no drinks. Oh, that's great. Where are you out in the West Coast there? Okay, Seattle. Sorry about the fires out there. Big shout out to all the people on the West Coast that are battling the fires right now. So without further ado, we've chatted enough here. I wanted to talk to everybody, and Chuck, I'm going to kind of start with you here.
Sure.
Give us an idea of kind of where the association is at right now, the International Association of Movers, and some of the happenings that have been going on right now. Set the table for us in the world of moving as it pertains to associations.
Well, I'm going to talk about how it pertains to my association. So, as most folks know that are on the broadcast, we're the International Association of Movers, and we've gotten a bad rap. The rap has been that we represent only those that are internationally focused as far as movers. But Chuck Bailey really was the one who said it best. We are the International Association for All Movers. And really the area that we are targeting right now to try to bring into the fold is what we're calling the U.S. Domestic Asset-Based Movers, the DAB, Domestic Asset-Based Movers. And we really think that's a sweet spot for us. It's a growth area for us. And look, I'll be very real about this. We had been in discussions with the American Moving and Storage Association about a potential merger. They traditionally have been very domestically focused. We have had the rap of being internationally focused. And now the AMSA folks, American Moving and Storage Association, have decided to merge with the American Trucking Association. And my understanding is that at the end of this month, the AMSA as a standalone entity will stop existing. Well, we'd like to be the ones to fill that gap. We believe that we can represent that agent base, those domestic asset-based movers, those with trucks, those with warehouses, those with laborers, and we can be the association that represents them now. They don't really have, I don't believe, some would say that the American Trucking Association can do that representation, and they likely will try to, but they're going to have some ramp up time. They're a fine organization, but we are a moving entity.
Well, it's interesting to me, right? So people who know me know my background, right? I started with pods and 1-800-PACK-RAT and kind of the alternative space, right? And it's interesting to me, though, when I first heard that AMSA was folding into the American Trucking Association, right? My first thought was that, well, that's where all of the, let's be honest, competitors to the moving industry are. I mean, the ABFs, the SDs, the Old Dominions, the guys that you call up and say, hey, just drop a trailer in my yard and I'm going to load it myself. I mean, to me, it seems almost like it doesn't make sense to me if I'm a moving company to be a part of an association that now is basically in bed with a bunch of much larger competitors. I mean, the largest moving companies is maybe, billion and a half dollars a year. And now there's several competitors of me that are $2 billion plus over there in that organization. I feel like I would get drowned out. I don't understand how that makes any sense. Just personal observation.
Sure. I mean, I understand that. Look, America, I don't want to poo-poo the American Trucking Association. They are a giant. They're a behemoth. And I think the folks at AMSA were really looking at the government relations side of it, the advocacy, if you will. I think we bring advocacy as well, but more focused on the moving and storage side of our industry, where ATA is focused on the real big issues, the highway bill, the infrastructure of the roads, et cetera. That, I mean, and I understand that's a great focus and something that we can piggyback on and reap benefits from. But the real focus on the mover, I think, is going to be our sweet spot. And really, we have asked Chuck Bailey and Oded to come in and help us spearhead this effort. We've got a task force, this DAB task force, Domestic Asset-Based Movers. I've got to do a little bit of that. And we really think that those two have the proper mindset. They built up an arm of the American Moving and Storage Association called the Small and Independent Mover Group. And that was the real growth of that organization. That was the liveliest, most interactive group that they had. And I saw it. I participated with them. And Chuck and Oded, now that they don't necessarily have this mixed allegiance now, are stepping up and really going to help us build the value proposition for those asset-based movers.
I'd like to go off on that, and I'd like to ask Chuck Bailey here. Chuck, tell me about what that Small and Independent Movers Association that you guys created at the previous association. What was the goal of that, and how was that going prior to this whole how everything transpired, and what brought us here today? But tell us about the original goal and thought of that, and then I'd like to hear from Oded.
Okay. Well, like Chuck White said, it was the growth within AMSA, and our goal really was to strengthen and build the small and independent movers. You talked a minute ago about the ATA and the big pods, the alternative shipping. I think us as moving and storage owners, managers, we pack and load household goods. We don't care what we put it in. We understand that we have to diversify. We have a business to keep running. There's an avenue for small and independent movers. We saw it years ago to help them understand that they need to look at outside the box, everything that's available to them to grow and strengthen and be more efficient from a business standpoint. And the small and independent movers, we had a couple meetings, the forum, we had some attendees that have never been part of any kind of AMSA conference or meeting or structure. And it was very strong and they got a lot out of it. I mean, our focus wasn't so much on numbers. Our focus was on helping them. We understand you have 1 truck or 10 trucks or 50 trucks. We're a diverse group, and we're going to talk to you about what it takes to make you stronger so that your lifelong dream of a moving and storage company remains sound and remains strong. And really that was our focus. And it was a good group. That group is still going to be out there, but I don't think there's any one of us, any business that belongs to one association. We belong to multiple associations.
That makes a lot of sense. And Oded, I'm going to ask you, why is it important for independent and small movers to have a voice? I mean, it seems like that's what associations do normally. Why is it important for them to have an extra special voice that's considered separately? How are the interests different than maybe some of the other constituents in a moving association?
Well, let me just start by saying that we're not only on the IAM level a group for independent movers. We're a group for all asset-based companies, including agents of van lines. And that's a departure from what we were doing in AMSA, but it was done on purpose. When Dan, Bradley, Chuck, and I met and talked about this group that we were going to be starting, we really thought about who we were going to be advocating for. And it was the people with the boots on the ground. I mean, that's really the simplest way to say it. And that's how we came up with the domestic asset-based group. So in our opinion, that's the group that has been underrepresented and doesn't really have a voice. And so, the point of this group is to get all the domestic asset-based movers in the U.S. To basically become active, become part of IAM, create a large sizable group, and then IAM is going to champion our policy positions. And I got to be honest with you, one of the biggest considerations that I took when I was asked to co-chair this group is Chuck White and his advocacy, for industry when it came to GHC. I mean, Chuck was a fierce advocate. He took a position. AMSA didn't really take a position. Chuck did, advocated very fiercely. And what that showed to me is that, well, if Chuck's our leader and we come to him as a group with a really important matter to us, he's not just going to sit on the sidelines. He's going to, step up and take it as far as it can. So I don't know if that answered your question directly, but that's kind of what was my thinking when deciding to co-chair the group.
There's a lot of people right now, because we have a very broad listenership here on Love and Reload. There's a lot of people that are probably like, what the hell are y'all talking about? What is a domestic asset-based moving company, and why is that? Can you just articulate a little more the exact types of companies that fall into this bucket for people that are watching in Sweden or Mexico? Can you just talk about what this is and what these companies that fit this mold are and what they are not, maybe?
Absolutely. So this group is for asset-based movers, which means that you operate trucks, warehouses, you have movers, labor.
As opposed to what? I mean, what other kind of movers are there?
A move management company, freight forwarder, a broker. There's a lot of that industry. And don't get me wrong, there's a very important place for all these companies in the industry. It's not for the large van line corporate, meaning that if you are Unigroup or if you're Wheaton Beacon, Stevens, What's the fourth one? What am I missing? Arbin. It's not for them, but it doesn't mean that they aren't important and that they don't deserve to have a role in the industry as well. We're just uniting people of like interests, which are asset-based movers, and we're limiting that to the U.S. domestic market. But I will tell you this, as IAM's reach continues to grow, there could very well be a China domestic asset base. This is U.S. domestic to the U.S., but there are plenty of countries, Germany, Sweden, any country in the world that has domestic asset-based movers that work locally, internationally, all of the above. But they have trucks, they have warehouses. Ultimately, somebody's got to do the work, and we're the people doing the work.
How, Ben, if I could, real quickly. So IAM right now has a profile of about 80% of our members are outside the U.S. Our growth area is this particular group. We have very, very few U.S.-based, asset-based movers within our organization. So we've targeted this for growth. We've targeted this because this is an underrepresented group, and we think we have a lot to offer them. So we focused on this, but I think Oded really did a nice job of framing it. This particular group we think is underrepresented, and we want to bring them into the fold. So we focused on this group, and in the past, we've not had this type of entity on our governing bodies. And one of the things that Oded and Chuck have talked to me about is their wants, their desires to have representation at the highest level of our organization. We've got international freight forwarders. We've got companies from outside the U.S. We've got some domestic, medium-sized domestic van lines represented. And this is one that we do not have represented. So I believe as we go forward, we're going to be looking to do some bylaw changes within our organization to get representation on our governing bodies to give them a real voice. Interestingly enough, as they heard all of this and heard the fact that we were going to probably be a year out from making this happen, both Chuck and Oded stepped up, and they're going to run for our board of directors, our executive committee, and they're not waiting. They want to step forward and make sure that these people have a voice on our highest level of governance.
I'm curious to know, for people that are watching this from the outside, and I always want to be cognizant of the different points of view and where people are coming from and what their baseline understanding of the moving business is, right? You know, Chuck Bailey, how do the interests of a forwarder or an international mover differ from the interests in the business model of a domestic asset-based mover, a person operating trucks and warehouses? I'm just curious, and for the people's edification out there in the audience, how are those interests different? How do they run their business differently?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is the cost structure. A forwarder, it's easy to understand. I'm a forwarder. I sit in this office.
It's a lovely office, by the way, Mr. Bailey.
and I call Ben. And I say, Ben, can you go out and get 5 desks? And then I call Chuck White and say, Chuck, can you take those 5 desks from Ben over here? Once you give me your costs and once you give me everything, then I handle that transaction. You do all the work, but your costs vary. Your costs vary from truck breakdowns. Your costs vary, from labor problems, weather. There's just so many things. So from a domestic asset-based mover standpoint, it's a cost thing for us. A forwarder, once Ben gives me your cost, I don't care what problems you have, Ben. I'm paying you what you told me you were going to charge me. Same with Chuck, same with Oded to deliver it or Dan to deliver it. That's what you get. It's easier for me to control my profit margin. Domestic asset-based movers, it's a little bit more difficult.
For sure. Well, and I mean, and what's more is a lot of times the problems roll downhill, right? So if the forwarder has an issue, with a claim, let's say a claim, like say I broke one of those 5 chairs that you told me to pick up, right? And I said my price is $500, and I get a check in the mail for 400 instead of 500 because you short paid me that hundo from that chair I broke, right? And what recourse do I have? I still got to pay my guys because they work the same amount of time, right? But you get to protect yourself because you get the money before I get the money, And so, I mean, I do sense, just my observation here, kind of having worked on both sides of the equation myself, I do sense how there's much more need for advocacy from the asset-based folks because, frankly, those problems roll downhill and y'all got to deal with them. And you got a lot more cost elements that could go sideways and money that you lose. Plus, I'll be honest, you got a lot more skin in the game. It's highly capitalized. I mean, for Chuck, for you to, in your scenario, just and over here, I'm over here on my soapbox, but here I go. You got your office and that's lovely and everything, but that's all you need to be a forwarder. For me, I got to have a whole warehouse full of a whole bunch of men, full of a whole bunch of vaults, full of a whole bunch of trucks and pads and dollies, et cetera, and boxes and God knows what else, and that's just a lot more cash on the line, frankly, it seems like.
No, I agree. And I think that, Oded said it. We've been underrepresented, and I think we need the forwarders, we need the pods, we need the alternative shipping. We need that as an industry for all of us to grow and get stronger. The problem is the agents being so fragmented over the years. We've lost a voice. We've lost some clout, I guess you could say. So, whether it was the small and independent movers, this U.S. DAB, I'm really excited about that. The independent or the U.S. asset-based group in the United States does not understand what IAM has to offer. The networking alone, is beyond what they've ever experienced before. And once we get those guys tied into this, I think it's going to make our group very, very strong.
I also want to add this, Chuck, and Ben, this is really important. Consider this, that a strong U.S. DAB is really important for international freight forwarders. The U.S. is the largest international market. Without having a represented group in all markets within the U.S., they don't have people to service their moves. So when we get US DAB, and we're already getting it up and running, but when it really hits, a large size, it's going to give the freight forwarders and all the brokers and all the people that depend on us a lot of different high quality options. So this is good for everybody, not just for the domestic asset-based mover.
Yeah, Ben,
Chuck White.
Real quick, you've got a very international audience that's tuning in, and I want them to understand this is great for them as well, because as an IAM member, you're covered by our receivable protection program, and we don't have enough of a nucleus in the United States that you can necessarily feel comfortable with having multiple options of people to work with. As this grows, you're going to be able to have that comfort level to reach out to multiple entities. It's going to be very good for everybody because it's going to be competitive then. And those international folks that are looking to do business in the U.S., this gives them more options. This all just strengthens IAM as an organization. It provides options. It provides competition. Nothing but good can come from this.
Dan, we haven't heard from you, and I want to ask you before we get on to how to get more business and things like that the gentlemen have touched on. Dan, continuing on the advocacy front, okay, and people have talked about having their voice heard and talking about advocacy. What are some of the issues you have an opportunity to advocate for on behalf of some of these domestic U.S. movers?
Yeah, and let me just say too, real quick, as you can tell, you need somebody in a group who listens more and doesn't talk. So Chuck Bailey asked you to move 5 desks, and you said you moved 5 chairs and broke them. So that's how things go wrong. Right there.
Fair enough. All right, sounds good, Dan. All right.
I was paying attention because I was listening. And I that's my role, is to listen, not to talk. But yeah, I mean, I think if you go back, all the way to IEM's inception, right, prior to IEM, which was the House of Good Forwarders Association of America, right? So they came together to advocate as a group on things that were of interest to all of them, in moving things for the government or DoD and those kind of things. So the areas that, we have a good, I think Chuck White referenced it earlier, a good government affairs team who's on Capitol Hill, who, engages on things like COVID and, trying to get some money for people. We have efforts going on in Congress with House Armed Service Committees, Senate Armed Service Committee, on behalf of, the Oded referred to it, the GHC, the Global House of Goods contract, allowing our members to, come to the Hill and have conversations with the right people because we had the right people advocating for them up there on the Hill. So, Chuck White, again, was on a Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration Household Goods Working Group. So, making sure we can get our voice heard with FMCSA. And since we're saying FMCSA, we're bringing them into our annual conference to have an hours of service conversation with them. And that's with one of their associate administrator for enforcement. So, we got Joe DiLorenzo doing that for us, and he's going to actually participate in that and then in our government and military affairs panel. So try and get in front of DOT. We try and get in front of, those offices there that Chuck and I were with GAO engaging on issues associated with, with moving in the DOD. So, we try and stay active in all those areas.
That's great. We're getting some fantastic comments here. People really appreciate your sense of humor, by the way, Dan. Some people appreciate your fashion as well. Lakeland asking about your earrings. I think Megan mentioned you might have taken them from her. So no, this is crap. Just messing with y'all, Dan. I got to get you back, buddy. I got to get you back.
I like it.
No, this is great. But honestly, I mean, it's such a fun group. I mean, I always have such a great time at the IEM meeting. We got some really cool comments. I want to stop and take some comments here as well. And then after we take some comments and questions here, we'll see where that takes us. And then we'll go ahead and we'll talk a little bit about how IEM, how you get business out of IEM, how it facilitates business relationships. And maybe
can we take a moment to just call out the absolute group of rock stars that we've assembled for the task force, because we've got some real heavy hitters in the industry, and I think people want to know who's on this task force. You mind if I?
Yeah, go ahead, Oded. No, you know what, Oded? Here, I'm going to take the rest of the day off. Please whatever you want, okay? Over here, you just
you get shout outs. What about us? Come on, man.
Go ahead, Oded. You have the floor, sir.
So obviously it's me and Chuck, but we're not nearly the profile of some of these. I mean, we have Steve Whitecamp. Steve runs CMSA. Also, runs the Association of Associations. I'm not saying that properly, but everybody knows Steve. We got Lakeland Fennell. Lakeland just commented on a comment that you brought up. We have Michael Gonzalez from Alaska also checked in from Denali. We got John Miner, who we all quipped about, who sent you that broken, whiskey bottle. Derek Potter from Firefighters Finest, Independent Mover of the Year over there. Jeanette Holman, who's been our recruiting rock star. We got Chris Lance from Beacons Moving Systems, not just all independents. We got agents here as well. Wes Stewart from Stewart Moving and Storage. Greg Lindstrom from Highline. Lizzie Appleton from Appleton Moving Company. Thomas McCarthy from, McCarthy. I'm confused with our next guy, Caleb McCartney from Cornerstone. But Thomas is from McCarthy Transfer and Storage. Also, Alan Fries from Victory, Dean Savage from Apex, and John O'Connor from Twin Oaks. So, we have a really, really diverse group and a really well-respected group. So I think when anybody on the domestic asset-based side hears some of these names, they understand that we've assembled a really serious group, and they probably understand that it's worthwhile for them to be part of this effort. Now you can go, Ben. You're good. You're clear.
Do we have a quorum on that?
Can you get your jacket back on, please?
Let's go ahead and take everybody's questions here. If you got questions or comments, go ahead and leave them. Feel free to get wild. Let's see here. We got Thomas McCarthy from San Diego checking in. We got Miguel Flores from Colombia.
All right, Miguel.
I like that.
Mr. Ross from San Diego. My dad's here. Dad, you gotta pay for an IM membership. Let's see
Well,
here.
I think we'll let him in for free.
Oh man, there goes the neighborhood. All right.
There it is.
Let's see here. Emily Leonard, Oded, best boss ever. Hail to the Redskins.
No. You mean the team from Washington?
The Washington.
Oh, yeah, good point.
HT.
Washington football.
WFT. Great. I think it's funny that Emily works for you, but also wants you to run for your own job. I think that's really funny. I think that's quite interesting. That says a lot, I think. Rory checking in for mini moves. Awesome. Helen there from Wisconsin in the house there. We got Chris Lance. Shout out to Dab here. The hardworking people that are the foundation of this industry.
Woo! He said it. He said it.
Wow.
It doesn't get moved if somebody doesn't show up at the door.
That's it. Danny Herskowitz. Shout out to Elliott Scott, New Jersey. Allison McDaniel. I totally agree with you. Chuck W.
All right.
Dick Scaffa. Cool Southern New Jersey checking in. Let's see what Lakeland has to say here. IAM has always supported the needs of the moving agents that are the boots on the ground at the curb for military and civilian moving. If you are a domestic asset-based moving agent that feels like AMSA has been run by giant fan lines and does not have your best interest at the heart of their mission, it's time to come into the family of movers that make up IAM, where your voice matters.
Well,
that's a mic drop right there, baby.
Shots fired in the DMs.
Well, the only thing I'm going to say is Lake's a Unigroup agent, so he might get his Unigroup stripes ripped off.
Hey, yeah, but you're paying for something, right? I think it's only natural for people to ask what they're getting in return, right? I mean, we wouldn't be in business very long if we didn't ask what we're getting in return for our
And Lake's part of the task force. I mean, a lot of the people that have been commenting here are part of the task force.
Let's see. Apex Mover says, thanks, guys, for introducing US DAB.
All right.
Tracy from New Jersey Warehousemen's Association, one big family here. Jennifer Anderson checking in from Claim Shield, New York. Great service for movers here.
Great place to start a moving company. Claim Shield. I like the way that sounds.
Yeah, Claim Shield. They actually fight the claims people. So when you get reduced for a claim from that forwarder for moving tables instead of desks instead of chairs, all of a sudden she fights it for you. So shout out to Jennifer. Brian Liparopoulos, great point, Oded. This could set the stage for domestic asset-based movers around the world. Interesting. Well, that's one of the things, and actually I'm going to go down here and answer Janet here because Janet kind of called me out here for some of my comments here. HHGFAA, by the way, I don't know how that name didn't stick, was for forwarders. Was for forwarders once considered very important to our industry, but Ben, I sense some bad experiences with forwarders on your part. No, I mean, it's all good. I mean, they give you the business, but they also, short pay sometimes. And I think I think one of the issues,
man, you're cutting my heart out, man.
Well, one of the issues though, is that as movers find themselves further and further and further away from their customer, more and more people in the middle of the transaction, more and more things could go wrong with the revenue side. And so I think it's just interesting. And so what I'm seeing here is a bunch of independent and small movers who would have tended to be end of the line, kind of moving up the line a little bit and saying, hey, we want to get closer to where the money's coming from and to our customer, which actually is kind of an interesting segue, Chuck, into what IAM is doing this year with the conference.
Yeah.
Which I kind of teased in the commercial in the beginning into the ad, but tell people a little bit about what IAM's doing with this conference that makes it so different from prior years, other than being virtual.
Yeah, well, obviously that number one thing is virtual, but what the virtual option offers is the ability to bring in an entire industry, the entire mobility industry. We deal with you were bad mouthing my forwarders. I love me some forwarders, but we've got the ability to bring in the RMCs, the relocation management companies, forwarders, asset-based companies, and corporations, the ultimate customers. And we are now going to be able to take this whole picture and bring it together in this virtual environment. And so there's always been, the problem of I've got to fly somewhere. I've got to pay to be in a hotel room. I've got to pay to eat. If you're coming from overseas, there's always the customs and visa issue that you may have to face. None of that happens in this virtual environment. And really, I've got to applaud you, Ben. I've got to applaud myself because I was smart enough to say, Ben, help me. But Ben, because of how well you're embedded in the relocation space, we've been able to get you and your contacts on board with our conference. And the other thing that we've been able to do, we've talked about it for a number of years, is to provide tracks of interest for each of the different segments of the industry. So for the DAB, for those domestic asset-based guys, we've got a track, and we're going to be meeting as a group to talk about what that group can bring to the industry, what they can bring to IAM. We're going to have, as Dan talked about, some of the folks that we will need to deal with on the advocacy side, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, Department of Transportation, that side of the equation, the Department of Defense, that side of the equation. So, and then we'll have corporates. We'll have a track for folks that are interested in that corporate / relocation management track of business. We're going to have a young professionals track. Our young professionals group is vibrant, and we're going to be having that a track for them. So we are really going to be able to try to tailor the needs and the wants of our membership to the different types of business that they do in this virtual environment. We're really starting to take off. If anybody hasn't registered for this conference, you're crazy. You're going to be able to go there and meet with people that you haven't met with for months and months and months, and then be able to meet with and talk to them, and then learn about new lines of business. This, to me, it's going to be something we're going to have to, it's going to be so solid. It's going to be so positive. Next year, when we go to Orlando and hopefully by then do our in-person meeting there, we're going to have a virtual aspect to it as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Chuck and Chuck Bailey and Oded Carmi, I mean, as movers, listening to what you heard Chuck White just talk about there, how is that different from previous IAMs, and what are you looking forward to most about this conference as an owner of a moving company who's shelling out their hard-earned dollars to go to this? What strikes you about what Chuck White just said?
Bailey, take the lead.
Go ahead. Okay. I believe that our society is coming to be more virtual. Okay. To attend the IAM or any conference, it's costly for a small mover, or a medium-sized mover, depending on how many people you send. But the best thing about IAM that I like this year about the virtual conferences, IAM is one of the best, if not the best, moving industry meetings from a networking standpoint. You get to meet so many people. One thing nice this year is the education aspect, because I think there's a lot of people out there that need education. I think that's a big problem with the smaller domestic asset-based group. Nobody's taught them how to market. Nobody's taught them, how to figure out their costs. Nobody's taught them how to lease trucks, how to buy trucks, how to lease warehouses, what they need to look at. And that's what our focus is on, is to get them better suited to operate their business to be more profitable.
Let me add on to that, because there's something unique about this specific convention, which is not just the digital aspect. Imagine if you were like gluten-free, right? You ate gluten-free and you're used to going to a restaurant, right? And you have to guess what's gluten-free on the menu. Here, not only is the restaurant, like the conference, designed for US DAB, we're going to have 3 of our own sessions, which we're going to be, discussing a wide range of topics that people who are interested in joining our effort can actually, participate in. But there's also things on the menu that are specifically for domestic asset-based movers So you don't have to guess, what the gluten-free options are. They're marked right there on the menu for it. So this, I would say, is the first, convention where it's specifically tailored, or a portion of it is specifically tailored for domestic asset-based movers. So that's really exciting. It's never happened before.
So, I'm looking at the comments here, and Tim Quirk says, I can tell you that you will get business from the IEM conference. It's a dynamic environment with people that are collaborative. Chuck, I was looking at the agenda and talking to you about everything. I'm super excited about the corporate folks that you're bringing in. The fact that you've made a decision to invite all corporate buyers of moving and relocation services to the conference for free of charge, which nobody is doing. Nobody is inviting corporate buyers free of charge. Everybody's charging for that. The fact that you had the foresight to actually allow these folks to come and understand, I'm willing to invest in these people being here because of the immense value that it brings to everybody else that's in attendance, I think is fantastic. And then to go further and then bring thought leaders from different regions like Latin America, Asia Pacific, EMEA, et cetera, in order to talk to us from around the world, bring customers from around the world, which again, is something that you could have never done. To your credit, it's really something you could have never done in prior years because the travel and the fact that these people don't have the kind of budgets to be able to fly in from Singapore to tell us how to do business with, Disney Asia down in Singapore, or FedEx Corporation, or, name some of these amazing companies, right? I just think it's going to be unreal. So kudos to you.
Well, and the other thing that we have done, and this is really at the urging of Chuck and Oded, is we've opened up our space to non-IAM members, something we really have never done before. There's a slight differential. Right now, it's $349 for an IAM member to attend, but we're opening it up to non-IAM members that are part of either a state association or another association outside the US, and we're doing it for $399. So for $50 extra, we want you to come in. We want you to wet your beak a little bit and find out about what IAM has to offer in all of the strata of the organization. And we believe if you do that, you're going to be wanting to invest in our organization and become a full-fledged member. So I think we're doing so many things differently with this, and I'm hoping that people will give it a chance. It's not just your basic Zoom session. It's going to be so much more enriched than we've ever done before, that you're crazy if you don't want to come in and take a chance.
I agree. I did hear a rumor that the association's conference tagline actually was going to be "Get your beak wet."
There you go. That is it.
Yeah, just
I'm putting my nose in there.
Jack Champel says he's one of the corporate. He's going to be a corporate speaker actually at the IEM conference. Jack Champel from Stryker Corporation says, "Sorry, Ben, since I may have missed this. Would you define what a freight forwarder is?"
That's a great question. So, and I have to deal with this a lot. So we've got relocation management companies, which are really at the top of the food chain in the mobility space, because they're doing a wide range of services. They're handling immigration, they're handling job placement for spouses, they're finding schools for kids, they're doing home buying and selling. They do the whole gambit. That's the largest, but they're non-asset-based entities. A freight forwarder is another non-asset-based entity. They can be focused mainly, though, on the actual movement, the actual household good movement, where they're getting an origin agent, a destination agent, truckers that may be involved, or haulers if it's domestically. They're different, though, than a broker, because a broker does not accept any of the liability on a household goods shipment. They farm it out to a moving company, and that other company takes on all of the liability, where a freight forwarder takes on the same liability levels, the direct liability to the customer. So there's all of these different strata, but a freight forwarder is basically a non-asset-based mover who utilizes the services of other asset-based companies.
Traditionally international in scope, however, more and more so doing domestic because of small shipments and things like that. Shout out to Janet Turner at Accelerated, my super producer. We love forwarders, small independent movers, by the way.
See, I knew Janet before you even thought about Janet, because Executive Moving, where I used to work many years ago, was an agent for Janet and her company, and we did great work together. Janet is one of the first, maybe the first commercial forwarder that I ever worked with.
Listen, Chuck, I see you trying to steal Janet. Get in line. Everybody's pride, okay? Nobody can have her. All right. Lakeland says, I'll take that chance, Chuck. Megan Harless says, new rule, you got to dab when you say dab.
Dab.
We're all over. We've been doing it all.
Chuck Bailey, can I get one, Chuck Bailey? Can I get one?
There it is.
He didn't fully commit. He didn't trust me. He's like,
you didn't ask Dan. Come on.
Dan,
come on, Dan. Give it to, there it is. There it is.
Before we stray too far, Chuck talked a minute ago about the virtual conference and the non-member price. I think what we need to make sure that all the domestic asset-based movers on this podcast understand is, if you're not an IAM member company now, they have a special rate for you to join IAM of $4.99, and that rate is through December 2021, correct?
We're going to take a look at that after the conference, but we'll figure it out. We want you to be a member. The thing about that price, I'm sorry, you mean how long it's good for?
Yeah,
yes, there's no question. Yeah, I was wondering I was really talking about how long we're going to be running this special. But you're right. You get a membership now for $4.99. You don't even have to think about paying a new membership rate until 2022. So it's a deal you cannot beat. $4.99 for basically a year and a half almost of membership in our organization.
We got some questions here. I want to make sure we get to everybody's comments and questions. If you got a question, go ahead and leave it. If you just want to laugh at us, that's understandable. Georgia says, Chuck B and Oded, what is the first action item you will be working on for the dab?
Well, I'll just take a real meat and potatoes view, and then I'll let Chuck be the more visionary guy. For us, it's just to grow this group, right? We can't really have a group if we don't have people participating. So we created the task force. I kind of went through the rock star cast that we created, but there's only about, and Chuck and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, currently before we started, there are only about 200 domestic asset-based companies.
Less than that.
Less than that. So, Georgia, our first step is to build our audience, right? To build our group here. So we're hoping as this grows to 500, 600, 1,000 members, then we can start really talking with you, the asset-based movers that are out there, and understanding what your concerns are, what you need, IAM to champion. Because ultimately, Chuck and I's role is not to, use this as a vehicle to do whatever we want with. It's to advocate for the domestic asset-based mover. So the first step of that is to grow our group. And then Chuck, you can take it to kind of a higher level.
No, I agree 100%. Where is the higher level? The growth is within the DAB, building the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 companies. And then our next step is to maybe expand the task force depending on the group size. But the task force main responsibility is to listen. We may think we know what the domestic asset-based group needs and wants, but they're going to tell us what they need and want, and then we'll determine where we go from there.
George, I'll give you a great example. In the implementation of GHC that's going to be happening in the next year or two as we build up this group, if us as domestic asset-based movers feel like the implementation isn't fair or equitable, we're going to go to IAM to bring that to the forefront and to advocate on our behalf. That's just one small example, and I can't predict the other challenges us as an industry are going to face. But once we build the group, we're very confident that IAM is going to be able to represent us really well.
And can I say too?
I envision seeing. I'm sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
I would just say these guys went to a higher level, and I'll go back to a lower level to answer that question too, right? So we put the group together. We're going to have at the very least monthly meetings. We are establishing what the objectives of the group are, and shout out to one of our sessions, during the conference. We're going to take outside inputs on that and kind of have a live session to talk through some of those things. What are the objectives of brainstorming session, so that at a third specific meeting for the task force, we can sit down and say, yep, let's focus on the area that people felt strongly about and move out from there. But, we've gotten a smaller group together to talk about a monthly, what's the word I want? I just lost
Zoom?
it. No, but we're doing the monthly Zoom, but we're going to try and put out a monthly newsletter that's focused on issues, focused on the companies, in our membership that are DABs and what they're doing, and try and, address items that we think will be interesting for those members. So, we're kind of trying to do some of that gut work right now of just forming, storming and norming and getting the right people together, and then giving them the right voice in kind of small areas to kind of, Oded, Chuck, and a number of the task force members, talking about, what are the first steps they took. Some of them were to go engage other members that were not IAM members to say, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's why we think you should be a member. And here's, your engagement. So those are kind of the, lower level things that are happening right now on a monthly basis.
Well, the other thing is, I envision as this group gets larger, I attended the small and independent movers groups meeting that they held year and a half ago in the DC area. I was amazed. Chuck Bailey and Oded did an amazing job with that. They had 150 to 200 independent movers that came together, many of them who had never been, they were AMSA members, but they had never been to an AMSA conference, but they saw that this kind of meeting was a meeting of those with like interest and of the same mind. And they took a step and made a commitment and came to that. I envision this group, as we get larger numbers, having their own annual conference that brings them together to talk issues.
We got some great comments here. Mike Bavuso, my applications in your inbox. Keep up the great work, all. So people are signing up over here. Tony Bonsamino, counting the days until my membership is approved. Hoping to register for the IEM conference.
Tony's got his membership in, so you have to go through a process. We've got to vet people as they come in.
Sounds like there's a backlog due to background check issues. Tony, that they just haven't come back in yet. Yeah, I mean, that's good, Tony. Love you, man. We've got a question here from Jake Pironi. Oded, what makes you think the implementation of the GHC isn't going to solve the world's problems, including being super fair and equitable to small moving business?
I feel that's what's known as a rhetorical question. Listen, I don't assume the worst. Right now, we're building our vehicle for change. Once that vehicle is up and running, we'll start driving it. So who knows where we'll take it.
One of the things that also I see is our organization being an advocate for this domestic asset-based group to the GHC award winner, whoever that ends up being. For them as the controller of almost 400,000 shipments annually, they can't reach out to every mover in every little town across the world to try to figure out what their wants and needs are. I really do see IAM, and in particular, the DAB group, gotta do it again, the DAB group being there it is, being the voice for that group to the GHC award winner. So again, advocacy can play a role on Capitol Hill, but I think advocacy is going to play a role in many other areas as we move forward. And you, asset-based movers, you guys need a rep. We'll be your rep.
I've got some other good comments here. I'm going to make an executive decision and not be constrained by my self-imposed deadlines. Richard Corona checking in from Northern Virginia.
What's up, Richard?
Richard, looking good there, Richard.
For our virtual meeting, EDC, thank you very much. The conference sponsor.
Wow. Congrats, EDC.
Nice. Richard, I'm
Drops a
excited.
coin. Yeah.
That's awesome. We got a question actually, and I'm going to this is going to be an around the horn one, and I'm going to get to pick who answers it first. I'm going to go with Chuck Bailey. Chuck, if you had a crystal ball, Chuck Bailey, do you think the GHC will happen? And if so, when? Chuck Bailey.
I do think some form of the GHC is going to happen. I do believe it's delayed. It's going to be delayed probably until after next summer. I think with the GAO due at the first week of December, I just think that the time frame to turn it around, get it started, is too short. So I think it's going to be after the summer.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that specific and candid answer. Oded, that's a high bar. What is your answer to this question?
Well,
what do you think?
I always watch the NFL analysts, and it really annoys me when they all pick the same team. So I'm going to go with a completely different answer. I'm going to say with all the challenges,
taking the Rams.
for the same reason that they pulled the contract in the first place and re-awarded it. I think there's too much smoke for there not to be fire, and I'm going to say that eventually I think the GHC is going to peter out.
Woo.
And what was the smoke in regards to, Oded?
The ownership of ARC and their issues with defrauding the federal government and price fixing.
Sounds pertinent. Dan Bradley, if you had a crystal ball, do you think GHC would happen? And if so, when?
I'm going to do this like a presidential election and not even answer that question. Answer my own question. Go in a different direction altogether. I'll answer it. I think it'll be awarded. Yes. I think starting early 2022 execution.
Nice. Which would be basically a full year.
One more peak season, he's saying.
Chuck White.
Wow. Well, I'm going to give a shout out to Dan because 2 years ago, when I talked to Dan about taking a job at IEM.
Pay attention to this.
You're supposed to listen, Dan.
He was the first one to tell me back then, and it really wasn't even being talked about, that there was going to be a contract for household goods. He knew that because Dan used to work at the Surface Deployment and Distribution Command. At one point, he was active duty, Lieutenant Colonel in the Air Force. He ran the personal property program for the Department of Defense. But when he was a DoD civilian, he knew General Lyons, who's running Transcom now. And General Lyons wanted to outsource everything. And he believed that as soon as he took over at Transcom, that was the direction he was going to go. So, yeah, I blame everything. It's Dan's fault. And
that was before General Lyons took command. Right?
Yeah, that's right. So I will tell you that with the protests, and as Chuck Bailey talked about, there's now a due date on those protests of 2nd of December. And then I do believe that there's a solid chance that those protesters, if they don't get what they're looking for out of the protest decision, they're going to the Court of Federal Claims. They're going to the federal court system to fight this as well. So I'm going to even go further beyond what some of them have said. And I don't think this thing is going to start. If it does start, it's not going to start till in 2022, but I think late in 2022. So I think we're still 2 full years away from seeing this thing implemented.
But you got to answer the first part of the question, yes or no.
Yes. Whether or not it's
is it going to get awarded? Is it going to go through or not? I love my job.
I think it will eventually go through, but I will say this. If we're not talking about implementation till 2022, that means General Lyons, the Transcom commander, is gone. And if he's gone, then whoever comes in and replaces him is going to have to be willing to pick up the mantle and move this thing forward. And with protests and court actions, I'm not so sure who coming in is going to have the stomach for that. So I'm going to say yes right now, but it is a very shaky yes.
How about you, Ben Cross? You don't get off the hook. What do you think?
Hey, I'm the guy that asks everybody to make a pick, and then I'm not going to break the tie. No, I think it gets awarded. I think it gets awarded post peak season 2021. I think the horse is out of the barn, the toothpaste is out of the tube. You know, and it is what it is. I mean, you know, the question is going to be, and this is a less definitive question, but the question is going to be, what is the impact to the to movers out there who are independent and getting their moves from move management companies? Do they paint their trailers? Do they still get to work with the van lines that won, United and or Unigroup and Atlas, or do they just say, you know what, we're going to pivot, we're going to go into consumer, we're going to go into corporate moving, we're going to retool? And I think it's going to be very interesting to see the waves and the implications that ripple through the household goods industry.
So just like I thought, 4 analysts pick the Cowboys, 1 analyst picks the Rams. Got it. Good. Thank you.
I think we all said it was going through. I mean, we're all picking the Cowboys.
I did not say it was going through.
Oh, you did not? You said it's not going through? I'm sorry.
I said it's not. I said there's too much smoke, and where there's smoke, there's fire.
We want all the smoke. All right, here we go. Let's see here. Ray De Silva. Let's see. Emily Leonard's got a question. Is IAM going to provide the same resources that AMSA did to include training certifications, such as the leadership program for the younger up-and-coming group?
Well, Ray is the right person to answer those questions.
Ray is the right person, yes.
Well, I will say yes. We've already begun a very robust platform called IAM Learning, and I'm going to put that up against any platform that's out there right now to be able to gain learning, have a learning environment, training. So no question about it. I think we are going to take what we have. We're going to figure out where the holes are in that training and try to build on some of the things that AMSA had that I'm not sure are going to show up in the ATA environment. And as Ray has said, we've already got what's called IAM Trusted. We've got moving specialist certifications. And we're looking to have, instead of the pro mover designation, we're going to have our own industry designation, IAM Trusted. And if I'm an IAM Trusted mover, there's going to be a set of criteria that you're going to have to meet to show the moving public that you are a trusted mover.
Yeah, and I think that's important because before, I think pro mover was a certification. You just get kind of grandfathered into, oh, you're a North American agent, you're pro mover. You're like, okay, well, what does that mean? It doesn't really mean anything.
Well, we're going to have some teeth in it.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. The other thing, you know, as a customer, as an agent, right? It's like I'm always looking for learning opportunities around the sales and marketing thing, right? And how do I do better at digital marketing and advertising, because that's where I'm getting I'm getting dominated by these brokers online, you know. And also, how do I go and do business with large corporation like Jack Jampel's company, like Stryker, right? How do I do business with that company, right? I mean, they have sophisticated procurement, they have standards, they have GDPR requirements and data privacy protection requirements, and it all sounds very complicated. It's not really complicated, but it all sounds really complicated. And how do I break through that and understand who those buyers are and what they're looking for and how to present to them, right? So I mean, those are opportunities I see. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Well, look at what our virtual annual meeting is going to become. It's going to become a marketplace for the relocation management companies, for corporations. This is where you're going to find out exactly how to do business.
Chuck, can you talk a little bit about the interstate domestic services that IAM is either considering or is going to be offering? Because I think that's a big important part for people that are looking at AMSA and considering IAM.
Well, I am going to turn that over to my my trusted sidekick here. Dan's going to handle that because he's the one who's spearheading those efforts.
Yeah, we've worked on that for actually quite a while now, and I can't take all the credit. Brian Libropoulos and Scott Reddig and Angela DeConti, all kinds of folks kind of had a hand in this, but we have a capability right now in the bag for an arbitration program. We have the capability to offer a blanket process agent. So those things that you need to be, interstate compliant, that we can offer you that capability already to fulfill that requirement. So yeah, that's something that's already out there, and we're ready, willing, and able to take somebody on in those environments.
And then if you're ready to diversify what you're doing now from intrastate to interstate to international, we've got all kinds of tools and information to be able to make you understand what it needs to be, what you need to do to be a qualified international handler of traffic as well.
That's great. Jake saying until GHC ever happens, there are many changes U.S. Transcom is implementing to meet the needs of military families. Having something like the DAB at IEM will be an awesome opportunity to educate all boots on the grounds agents with these new regulations that are difficult for many TSPs to communicate individually. I think it'll be a great way to prove that we can do what our military needs without a GHC. It's interesting. I think there's other large clients too. I mean, none as large as the military, but there's other very large institutional clients, both in the U.S. and abroad, who probably have a lot of similar guidelines. I mean, GSA comes to mind, right? Sure. Some corporate, institutions as well, large clients, RMCs perhaps even, who I could see using this, using IAM as their educational opportunity as well to talk to their moving networks.
Ben, I want to raise my hand again. So at our conference, we're going to have a session on everything you wanted to know about GSA, but we're afraid to ask. And we're going to have a couple of folks that are approved in the program, a couple of TSPs, or one TSP, one move manager, because there is a move manager designation. We're going to have a couple of agencies represented, and then we'll have GSA, who is the program manager for the CHAMPS program, which is the main program that's used in government non-DoD household good moving. So if you want to find out how to get in and learn about the GSA programs, then that's the place you need to be.
And that is on our DAB track, as is your corporate relo session.
Right.
Cool. That's awesome. Megan says she's going to be a big guinea pig moving in 2022, counting down days to retirement. We have some people here checking in. Also, these are important comments. Julia O'Connor says it's $499 to join IAM through 12/31/2021. Brian makes a personal observation that the rate is just too good for non-U.S. movers to not do it. This has been fantastic. I want to give everybody an opportunity, our esteemed panelists here, and I just want to go around and kind of ask for some closing thoughts here. Dan, I'm going to start with you and just kind of ask, if you want to share just kind of a closing thought with folks who happen to be watching. A lot of people on LinkedIn, Facebook. If you haven't done so already, hit that celebration. Give our panelists a round of applause, a virtual round of applause. It makes us feel so nice out here because we can't see you, and that's probably for the best. Dan, Bradley, go ahead and give us a final thought, if you would.
Yeah, my final thought would be annual conference related. It's an opportunity to get online. We're going to do a lot of live Q&As for our session. So, you don't have to stand up in front of everybody in this session, but we're looking for questions and good questions for our panelists. So we'll be doing that. There's a lot of sessions going on, and if we can just get a lot of feedback going during this conference, it'll be even more useful than it's going to be.
That's awesome. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. Looks like people are already highlighting that CHAMP session as well there. Let's go over to Oded Carmi. I'd love to hear your final thoughts as well.
For me, it's just excitement. I love this industry. I love what domestic asset-based movers have to bring to the table. I think the future of this group is very promising, and I want to thank IAM for stepping up and supporting us. And it's just not words. I mean, I'm not going to give you specific interactions, but there's been a lot of opportunities over the last few months where IAM has had decisions to make on whether to financially invest in this group, and they always made the decision to do that. So I'm very thankful that I want to thank Chuck and Dan for that, and just say, hey, this is going to be an exciting ride. We're just getting on the roller coaster. There's nowhere to go but up.
Awesome. Chuck Bailey, I'd like to hear from you too, if you got a final thought for us as well.
Yeah, just this is an industry that I've been in all my life. I love it. I know what IAM has to offer. Our industry, our domestic asset-based group. I love to help people. I'm trying to make the world a better place. And I'm excited for what we're going to be able to do for the small domestic asset-based group, even the medium and large, with the help of the medium and large to help the small, just to have a voice in our industry and to make us stronger.
Awesome, Chuck. I still remember that time you came and talked to some young professionals at a moving conference and told us about your story and everything. And I mean, those types of interactions and mentorship that you get through these association meetings is just invaluable. So, and I think that still comes across virtually because I'm feeling the same way right now, Chuck. So, yeah, appreciate you being here with us. Chuck White, I'll let you, as our ringleader here, I'll let you kind of finish us off here and leave us with a final word.
Well, we think that there was a hole that needed to be filled, and it is the representation of movers in the United States, those domestic asset-based movers. And it was a perfect fit for us. We have 80% of the membership in our organization outside the US. We are ripe to be able to fill the hole that needs to be to take care of the domestic asset-based movers. And we're going to step forward and do that. All people have to do is step forward and say, me too, and jump on board. And we're really going to showcase that at our virtual annual meeting. You see the dates there at the bottom of the screen, October 21 through 23. There's going to be information, offerings, positives, interactions that are going to happen over those 3 days. You're crazy if you don't. You're going to have FOMO. You're going to have fear of missing out. And you need to step forward, register now, whether you're an IAM member or not. You have the availability to do it. Let's make this really, and I will say we're guinea pigs right now. This is the first conference that we've had in our industry in a very long time. And it is the first virtual meeting. And I think it's going to be the new normal going forward. It's going to be part of, anyway, the new normal going forward. Let's take advantage of it.
I think about the fact that things are virtual, when companies obviously are having a tough year, right? And they're thinking about, okay, what's the return on investment for going to conferences and investing in learning opportunities? And is the networking really there? And is the return on investment really there? And these are the questions I keep hearing as I talk to people. But what I'm seeing is there's people that are going out there and they're taking action and they're being decisive and they're moving with confidence. And then there's a whole lot of people out there that are scared and they bury their head in the sand. They're like, just get 2021, just get here already. But what I'm seeing is those people that are out there in the market and they're being aggressive and they're investing in their business, they're investing in their people, and they're building relationships, and they're finding new ways like this right here to communicate with the public and the community are the ones that when 2021 comes around and people pop their head back out of the sand, those are the people that are going to be in the lead. Right.
That's
and
right.
I think that this is an opportunity. IAM every year is an opportunity to go and make those connections, make those relationships, learn a little bit, get recharged, get rejuvenated. And this year is no different. It's just delivered differently. So I encourage anybody out there that's watching this right now and they might have been on the fence about going, or maybe you had never even heard of IAM or of the IAM meeting or didn't know about the virtual conference, AKA Wet Your Beak 2020. I think that now's the opportunity
My hashtag.
to hop in there, and get in the party, because I guarantee you, I've seen some of the stuff that Chuck and his team are working on right now. I've seen some of the stuff that Chuck Bailey and Oded are working on, that Dan's got in the hopper. And I'm just really telling you guys, as a person that's in this space and that understands, digital marketing, communication, engagement, and networking through a platform like this, I'm telling you guys, it's going to be unprecedented, unparalleled, and unbeatable value for your dollar. So you need to get in on it. And I'm really blessed and honored, frankly, Chuck, that you even had me and to be a part of some of these sessions and help you kind of curate these opportunities, because I've been a person as a customer that's always gone to these things, and to get to actually be on the other side of it and actually kind of creating some of this, Chuck, it's been a real honor, and I'm so excited about it, man. So thank you very much.
Happy to have you. The last thing I'll say is it's only going to take you one connection that you make at this conference to make a difference in 2021. If you don't attend, you don't make that one connection. Shame on you.
That's right. That's right. All right, everybody. With that note, want to thank everybody who jumped in the comments. We had a ton of people. We had hundreds of people watching this right here live on Facebook and LinkedIn. This is fantastic. I'm sure we had over 1,200 views on this already as it stands right now. So this is fantastic. You guys are super pumped about it. Can't wait to see y'all virtually in about a month right now at the IEM conference. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Dan, Oded, Chuck Goose. Appreciate y'all being here. Thanks, everybody. Take care, everybody. See y'all tomorrow. All right.
Bye.
All right, deuces.